Hey hackers, welcome to AzefoxInnovations new video. In this video, we are going to have a look at the users and groups in Linux, which is a part of our Linux Fundamentals 101 series, right? So let's get started. We'll start with the users in Linux part, right? So in Linux, a user is an account that can log in and interact with the operating system, right? Each user is kind of, like is identified by a unique user ID, also known as UID, right? Which the system uses internally to track ownership and permissions, right? There are different categories of users. Firstly, we have the root user, which is often associated with the UID of 0. No, and they are also called a super user. And root users generally they have complete control over the system and can perform any action without restriction, right? And secondly, we have the system users, which are special accounts created for running background services or daemons, right? Such as www data for web servers or MySQL for databases, etc. These accounts usually cannot log in directly. Finally, we have the normal users, right? Whose accounts are created for people, allowing them to use a system with limited privileges to maintain security and stability. So, a quick demonstration in Macaulay. So as you can see, I am the user root here, and as what I mentioned in the slide that I'll be having the UID of 0 as I'm the root user. Let me exit it and let me now type the same command with the normal user as Kali, and as you can see, for the normal users in Linux or especially in Debian systems like Kali and Ubuntu, etc., you will be having the UID of 1,000 for normal users, right? So as you can see, and along with that, you can also see my group ID and etc. Of course, we will talk about this, in the later part of the video. Okay. So just for the sake of demonstration, I just showcase this. Then we have the groups in Linux, right? So Linux uses groups to simplify access management. Yes, a group is simply a collection of users, and every group is identified by a unique, group ID known as GID, right? Groups allows administrator to assign permissions collectively instead of having to configure them user by user, right? So there are two main types. One is the primary group, which is automatically assigned to a user at account creation, and secondly, we have the secondary groups which a user can join to gain additional access rights, right? So yeah, now we'll focus on the user and group files. So Linux stores information about the users and groups in specific system files, right? For example, we have the etc password file, which contains the basic details about basic details about the user, like including details like the username, UID, GID, home directory, and the default shell, right? Then after this, we have the etc password, etc shadow file, right? Where generally, passwords themselves are not kind of stored, here like in the password file for security reasons, right? So instead, the passwords are actually stored in the slash shadow file in a hashed manner, right? And is kind of accessible only by the privileged processes, right? And group related information is stored in etc group, which defines the group, groups available on the system and the users belonging to them, right? So again, a quick demonstration here. So to access this file, of course, I need to be an privileged user. So let me start with the etc password file, etc password. And as you can see, here it contains my like kind of my username, right? My username, then of course, username, then it actually contains my UID, right? My UID, then my GID, then also it contains my home directory and also the shell in which I am being there, or the shell I'm actually using according to this user, right? Then after this, now we'll focus on the shadow file. So as what I said, shadow file actually contains the hashed passwords of the users, right? So as you can see, I have the hash for the user of the Kali, right? And if the password is weak, I can definitely crack it with with a basic word list, even with a basic word list, right? So this file is like really sensitive and can be only accessed by the privileged users, right? Then at last we have the group file, where it actually stores information about the particular group, right? The particular user along with their groups, right? The GID, for example, the user Kali has been there in the user in the GID of 1000, right? And apart from that, we can also use the group command to check in which groups we are present. For example, as the root, we are only part of the no the root groups, right? Here, I'm sorry. And as you can see, the user Kali has been like part of this much of group. Of course, it's been the deep, but a Kali group and etc. Right? Yeah. So now finally we'll focus on the permissions and ownership part, right? So every file and directory in Linux is kind of associated with an owner and a group, and permissions are defined for three categories, right? So the owner, the group, and all the other users, right? Also like referred to as others, right? Permissions are expressed as either read, write, and execute. For example, if a file has permissions like this, rw, xr, and x, this means that that the owner has actually the full access, right? And then we have the group as read access, right? And all the other users as execute access, right? So this permission, actually the permission system ensures that files and resources are only accessed by the right people, maintaining both security and proper access control across the systems, right? So again, a small demonstration here. So in our case, I have a file here known as none.txt, right? So I can use the command ls-la. I'm sorry, ls. I'm sorry, ls-la. And if we like search for the none.txt, again you can see that the owner of the file has the read write permission, right? As it's a txt file, we won't be able to execute, so that's the reason we don't have that particular option, the flag mentioned here. Then for the group, it's been like read permission, and again for the normal user, it's also for the other users, it's also the read permission, right? And so like as you can see that the users in the groups, or the group, or the normal people, or the other people, the other users won't be able to write or modify, or they don't have the privilege to modify this file. Only the owner has the ability to modify this file, right? So that's what the beauty of the permissions in Linux, by the way. Yeah. So yeah guys, that's all for this video, right? So will you catch you all in another video, in one of the upcoming video, okay? Until then, bye. And make sure you follow and subscribe to Azefox Innovations for more informative videos.